Good morning and welcome to StudentSOS, or welcome back if you've been here before. Please, if you like the content here, can you like and subscribe so that you can get hold of all the new content and you'll get notifications. We also have a Patreon channel, which some of you may find useful, particularly over the summer, where we will offer you opportunities to ask questions directly and indeed get discounts on one-to-one tutoring sessions. We work on everything from 11 plus, which is very popular at the moment, and UCAT and BMAT exams, all the way through to A-levels in sciences, in particular at this point, biology. Hence the rather lovely card I've been sent, and this is the introduction to today's video. If I like it, and indeed some of you do as well, please comment and let me know what you think. It might become the new front page for StudentSOS videos. I love the idea of a sell fee. So this morning, I'm going to do a little caveat attached to this video before we begin, because what I am not interested in is having people view this who are anti-vaccination, or if they're believing that Bill Gates, or anybody else for that matter, has put some sort of microchip into the vaccination for COVID-19, or any other conspiracy theories. There are many and varied, quite astonishingly varied, stories that are going around. And that's exactly what they are. They are stories. So if you're watching this and you're not a student of science, specifically biology, and you don't believe the vaccine works or anything else about the vaccine, please feel free to go away right now. That's fantastic. So hopefully everyone that's left just wants to learn about how vaccination works, and specifically I'm going to take a look at how vaccination works with the main COVID-19 vaccinations. I will put into the description below a link to the Panorama documentary that took an hour and a half, I think, about 3 weeks ago on BBC, and this explains in much more detail some of the successful and indeed some of the non-successful vaccines that were under development over the last 12 months. Vaccines have not been approved if they are not successful. Okay, so let's take a look at how this works. So we have a pathogen, and any of you who are GCSE or A-level candidates will almost certainly know that a pathogen is an infectious agent that gets into the body. So there we are with our pathogen. This one is COVID-19. Here he is, an unassuming little chap. He has an RNA core. That's where coronavirus comes from. You can find RNA in the middle of the word corona. And he has spike proteins, which are here in red, all around his outside surface, and he has basically some other material that contains the RNA, but that is all it is. You'll notice here that it has no ribosomes, no mitochondria for the A-level candidates. There are no organelles in here. Viruses are not cells. I'll say that once more. Viruses are not cells. They can't reproduce without hijacking some other organism's cells. They don't grow. They don't do any of your Mrs. Gren or Mrs. Nerg from year 7 rules. They don't eat. They don't excrete, etc., etc. It is astonishing, therefore, that such a relatively inert creature is actually able to cause the chaos that it has done. However, HIV has done that prior. And indeed viruses like Ebola, they are some of the most deadly pathogens on the planet. So here's some look at a different type of vaccine strategy then for this particular vaccine. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a sip of coffee before it goes cold. Fabulous. So here's the Pfizer jab, one of the first ones to be authorised, and they use what we call a liposome. Non-A-level students, this is just basically phospholipid, so fat molecules that look a lot like your cell surface membrane. And therefore what will happen with a liposome is whatever its contents has, it's going to be able to fuse to your cell surface membranes and harmlessly allow whatever it's carrying to enter your cells. Fantastic idea. We use this for other types of treatments as well, not just vaccination. Inside, we have mRNA for the spike protein for COVID-19. Importantly, because we're going to talk about this later, this is for the original China version from December 2019. So this is from the original Wuhan version of the coronavirus. That's where that mRNA spike protein is from. This becomes important when we discuss variants in a little while. And then we look at the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine that was close on Pfizer's tail. And in fact, these are two of the biggest ones that have been used until recently, with Moderna coming on stream. In the UK anyway, these are the most common ones that have been used. And once again, we have mRNA for the spike protein of COVID-19. Again, the original spike protein coding mRNA. And we're using a cold virus vector. And there he is there, very funny looking creature. He has his own spike proteins, but as we all know, cold viruses very much enjoy attaching to cells of your respiratory system, and then they allow them to insert their mRNA, DNA into your cells so that they can replicate and make you feel unwell. So there's no good reason that this cold virus vector will be any sort of problem, but it will allow the mRNA to get inside of cells. I do believe, I should point out in this instance, this is an opinion, not a medical or scientific fact. I do believe that the increased rate of side effects for people taking the Oxford AstraZeneca is probably due to the vector rather than anything else. Again, that's absolutely opinion. I'm very happy for you to chat in the comments about anything you've read differently, but it would be likely that a cold virus vector would give you more symptoms than a liposome, because the liposome would be recognised largely as self. Deliberately, the cold virus vector is recognised as foreign because of the cold virus spike proteins. In either case, it doesn't matter which one you've had, because what happens is that antibody is produced that's complementary to the spike protein that's made by human cells. So that mRNA that's injected into the cells via either a liposome or the cold virus, that mRNA is translated, that just means made into a protein for GCSE candidates who haven't done translation yet. So it's made into a protein, and now that's displayed in the body, and then antibodies are produced by white blood cells, by B cells, in a form of active immunity, which is what you'd be talking about if you were looking at A-level. It's important to note that the spike protein is not pathogenic, nor is the cold virus that was used by AstraZeneca, nor is the liposome used by Pfizer. Not pathogenic means it will not cause disease. So this spike protein cannot cause coronavirus at all. It is impossible. So after vaccination, you will produce the antibody, and hopefully you'll produce some memory B cells. And again, GCSE candidates, you may not know much about that, but memory B cells are produced when antibody responses are produced, and then those B cells go and get stored in your lymph nodes, in the neck, in the armpit, or in the groin, and they wait in case you're reinfected. But what they will do then is trigger an immune response, as it is a foreign antigen. So these memory cells can be activated if you are infected at a later date with coronavirus. So this is quite important. People seem to forget that the idea here is not to stop you ever being infected with coronavirus, but it's actually designed to stop you from being very seriously ill and becoming hospitalised or indeed dying. Now, this is really important because, of course, we can already see that the numbers of cases are falling in terms of hospitalisations and deaths. Even today, whilst numbers of cases rise at a very rapid rate. Now, this video is not here to tell the government what it's supposed to be doing about July the 19th. It's not here to tell you whether you need to wear a mask afterwards. But what I will say to you is there are concerns over variants. You will absolutely certainly have heard of variants of coronavirus. Now, the problem we have is that these spike proteins are what the antibodies are made against. Now, B cells, I'm afraid, are incredibly specific. What that means is, if you change that spike protein enough, the B cells that you have produced, the memory B cells you have produced as a result of vaccination, will no longer recognise the spike proteins on certain variants. Now, we have a huge amount of molecular biology expertise in this country, and variants of concern are being tracked constantly, and they will arise all the time. They will arise more quickly, however, if we have a greater rate of transmission in the population, because the more the virus is enabled to replicate, and the more it's able to find new hosts, the easier it will become for it to effectively evolve. What you are watching with viruses is evolution in action. So what happens is that what should be a huge disadvantage to a virus, its rapid rate of replication and its complete dependence on a host protein synthesis mechanism, they should be huge disadvantages to the virus. But what they do is they introduce errors at an astonishing rate. And unfortunately, some of those errors will occur in spike proteins and eventually will almost certainly produce versions of the spike protein that we are no longer able to recognise even after double vaccination. As a consequence, the government have already announced in this country, in the United Kingdom, that there will be a booster jab available in the autumn for people over 50 years old. This will involve looking at different variants of the spike protein and will almost certainly involve mRNA from those particular spike proteins. But that's pretty much how this works. And so just as a final overview on this, if you have not been vaccinated yet, which as I expect many of you are my younger audience, you will not have been, then I hope that you will be vaccinated shortly. At the moment, there is no real evidence to suggest that very young people under the age of about 20 become very seriously ill. The statistics suggest the chances of that happening are incredibly small. So we will continue to make videos on this subject. If you would like us to, please comment below if you have any questions you'd like us to answer. Very happy to do that. But as things evolve, as they almost certainly will in the coming months, we'll make another video to update you. But I hope that this was useful this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.